Right now, in the dark, you are glowing. Not in any way you can see, but your face is pouring out a soft light, the warmth of the blood just under your skin, brightest at the corners of your eyes and the sides of your nose. Your hands are two warm lamps. The chair you just got up from is still shining faintly with the shape of you, a fading portrait in heat that will hang in the air for minutes after you've walked away. You broadcast this picture constantly. Every warm body does. You just happen to be completely blind to it. Something else isn't. Low in the grass, there is an animal built to read exactly the picture you can't see. And to understand what it's doing, you have to drop a word you've been using your whole life. Because this animal doesn't feel your heat. It looks at it. The animal is a pit viper, and the clue is in the name. On each side of its head, in the gap between the eye and the nostril, there's a small opening, a pit. For a long time, nobody was sure what these were for. Now we know they're among the strangest sense organs on Earth. Stretched across the back of each pit is a thin membrane, thinner than a sheet of paper, held in the middle of a little air-filled chamber so that heat can reach it from both sides. And that membrane is packed with nerve endings, thousands of them, loaded with the most heat-sensitive machinery found in any animal with a backbone. A single kind of protein, tuned so finely that it responds to a change in temperature of a few thousandths of a degree. Not a few degrees, a few thousandths of one. It is sensitive enough to notice a mouse from a meter away, in total darkness, purely by the warmth coming off it. But sensitivity alone isn't seeing. A thermometer is sensitive, and a thermometer is blind. What makes the pit an eye is its shape. The opening is narrow, and the membrane sits behind it in that little chamber, which means the pit works like the simplest camera there is, a pinhole. Heat coming from your left falls on the right side of the membrane. Heat from above falls low, and just like that, a crude picture forms. Not a hot or cold reading, an image. A rough thermal photograph of whatever warm thing is out there, projected in real time onto living tissue. The raw image is blurry, low resolution, barely a smear of warmth. But the snake's brain does what your brain does with any shaky signal. It cleans it up, sharpens the edges, fills in the likely rest, and hands the animal a picture far crisper than the pit alone could ever deliver. And because it has two pits, one on each side of its head, it gets that heat picture in a rough kind of stereo, enough to judge distance, to know not just where the warm thing is, but how far to strike. The snake isn't sensing that a warm animal is nearby. It's seeing the shape of it, in the dark, painted in heat. And now comes the part that should genuinely bend your mind. Because the snake has ordinary eyes too, so which picture is it living in? The one made of light or the one made of heat? Both, at the same time, as one. Deep in the snake's brain, in a region called the optic tectum, the signals from the eyes and the signals from the pits arrive at the same place and are laid directly on top of each other, fused into a single combined image. There are individual cells in there that fire whether a thing is seen or felt as heat. Cells that no longer draw a line between the two. The snake doesn't experience vision and warmth as two separate feeds it has to compare. To the snake, warmth is simply part of seeing. It looks at the world and the temperature is just there, in the picture, the way color is just there in yours. We can prove how completely it relies on this. Cover a pit viper's eyes entirely, take away all its ordinary sight, and it can still strike a warm target, in the dark, and land the bite exactly where it needs to. It was never really aiming with its eyes.
Think about what that fused picture gives it.
It can strike in total darkness and hit a target it never saw with light, guided straight to the warmest part, the blood. It can tell a living, warm animal from a cold stick that happens to be the same shape. It can look at an empty patch of ground and read the fading, warm ghost of something that was sitting there minutes ago and know which way it went. And it is not alone in reaching past our senses. This same trick was invented more than once. Pit vipers grew their pits, and boas and pythons, on a completely separate branch, grew their own version. Evolution has decided again and again that seeing heat is worth building. Other animals go further. There is a beetle that can detect the infrared glow of a forest fire from kilometers away and flies toward it because it lays its eggs in wood that has just burned. There are vampire bats with heat sensors in their faces, tuned to find the exact spot where a vein runs closest to the surface of your skin. The world you move through is crisscrossed with signals, being read constantly by senses you were simply never issued. And that's the thing I want you to actually sit with, because it isn't really a story about a snake. You tend to assume that what you see is the world, that your senses hand you reality more or less complete. But they don't. Light itself is a vast spectrum, and your eyes are open to a razor-thin band of it, a sliver so narrow that if the whole range were a road stretching for miles, your vision would be a single stripe painted across it. Everything else, the radio pouring through the room, the heat rolling off your own body, the ultraviolet a bee reads on a flower, is right here and closed to you. Every animal lives inside its own small bubble of the world, built entirely from the few channels its body happens to carry. The snake's bubble has heat in it. Yours doesn't. Neither bubble is the real world. They are both edits, and each creature mistakes its edit for everything there is. A century ago, a biologist gave this private bubble a name: the Umwelt. The world as a particular animal knows it. And he pointed out the unsettling part. There is no view from outside all of them. No single true picture you could step back far enough to see. There is only bubble after bubble, each one certain it holds the whole world. The heat picture is not hidden. It's not far away. It's pouring off your own skin, filling the room you're in, wrapping around everyone you love, a constant, detailed image of all of you, in a color you were never given the eyes to see. We had to build machines, thermal cameras, just to glimpse the version of ourselves that a snake sees at a glance. We can borrow the sense. We will never feel it. The snake isn't gifted with a supernatural power. It just got issued one more channel than you did. So somewhere out there, on a warm night, a chair still holds the glowing shape of the last person who sat in it. And there are eyes in the world that could walk into that room and see it, clear as a face, a portrait of a person, still hanging in the dark, long after the person is gone. You will just never be one of the things that can look.